well, another vlog on my favourite subject, not universal credit. Universal credit, living below universal credit, and many people do, and that's why people say that if you want benefits, you're okay. Yeah, if you get, you, let's just say, right, for example, right, if you're renting a room in a shared house, yeah, you'll get your rent paid, which is about at the moment between £80 and £100. Yeah, the Universal Credit will pay the your landlord 80 to 100 quid, right, for the room that you rent in a shared house. And you'll get 71 quid unless you've got an attachment to earnings. And if you get 71 quid less, what's it, 63, 64, less 7 quid. So you'll get 63 quid to yourself per week, right? 64 quid to yourself if you've got an attachment to earnings. To those lovely people at CMS, CSA, whatever you want to call them. I've got a, what do you call it, yeah? I don't think the S is support. I think it's another word. It's a four-letter word. It begins with, ends with M. Um, they could care less about you, and usually you don't, you're not their biggest fan either. Uh, the problem is that well, they're not your biggest fan. Uh, living below universal credit, people don't think it's possible, but so like this week now. Like last week, I lived £100 below universal credit, but for the fact that I'm still currently. I had a sub this week. I had to get on Tuesday. It was looking a bit bleak, so I had a sub from work, and thankfully, if they had never given me a sub on Tuesday, it'd have been a bit difficult about now. Um, but that got me through, and I got 2 more days' work. I've got just enough to get to work today, which will give me a 4-day week this week for next week. Off that 4-day week, off of last week's work, that will get paid on Friday, which is tomorrow. I've got off of that. I will have. I've got I will have a £67 attachment to earnings, which I can't stop, irrespective of what I earn. I could earn 70 quid and they'd have a 67 quid attachment to earnings, with leave me 3 quid. They could care less. I can't stop it. So this week I will have a 67 quid attachment to earnings. I've got 80 quid subs, which will be from work, which will be deducted at source. That's 80 quid, 137 plus 115, which I can't. If you live in your car, it's accommodation cost because you need it to live. You need to have a car on the road. So I've got a car bill to pay this week, which is my accommodation cost, which is not recognised as accommodation costs as I live in my car. So I have to find that myself out of whatever I earn, which is fair dues. If I'm earning alright, I haven't got a problem with that. But this week it's difficult because of my subs and my attachment to earnings. So this week it's 67 plus 80. I may need another 20 quid sub today if they give me it. If they don't, I could probably just about get through. I don't know. Till tomorrow. But let's just say they give me. Let's just say they do give me 20 quid today, right? If it's from work, right? Yeah, which gets me through to tomorrow, right? Which will get me into work and get me out of work so I can park up somewhere until tomorrow. Um, Fuel wise and whatever, yeah. Fuel and food. So that would be this tomorrow 67 plus 80. So it would be 100. which is 167, plus 115 off of that. So that's 170. That's 100. That's 285. Yeah. So after last week's work, if I hit anything above net, if I hit net 285, if I hit 290, I'll be £5 in credit, and I'll be absolutely chuffed to bits. But it looks like I might not be able to hit that much. I might not be able to earn 295 from last week's money. And which will look a bit, it's looking a bit dicey towards this next month is going to be an interesting month. Well, this next week will be quite interesting just to get through it. And that's living below universal credit. This is what it's like. This is people trying to do sums that aren't possible and having to try and make them possible, and people helping them out. That's the idea of universal credit, is that they can help you out. But they can only help you out as long as your situation doesn't require more than 370 quid. £317. If you've got a situation that requires more than £317, you're screwed. That's as simple as it gets. Unless your company help you out. And there's a lot of people in this situation, which is why a lot of people live in cars and live in vans. Just because if you get a 10 quid little gas cooker, little gas stove, and you can live on food bank, you have to use your living expenses as your vehicle expenses, because the vehicle expenses are not covered as accommodation expenses, even though you live in your accommodation is your vehicle. And lots of people are like this, effectively homeless, living on wheels. So that's where I am. So at the moment, and that's what I've got. I've got about 290 coming out, 285 coming out, but I don't think I'll actually hit 285, 290, which means there'll be a deficit. Which means after my subs are deducted at source, I may have to borrow a sub tomorrow, even after being paid, just to get through the weekend. This is a lot of people in this situation, but Universal Credit is absolutely clueless of the problem that attachment to earnings from its other organisations within itself. It's taking from one and giving from the other. It's like having about. It's got 25. It used to have 35 ministerial departments. It's now got 25. So it's either scrapped 10, or it's made them not ministerial. So the state used to have 35 plus ministerial departments, plus about 350 agencies it works with. But having done a license check this week, that's another thing. That's an experience on its own, that is. It's now reduced its ministerial departments to just from 350 to 245, I think it is, so by 100 or so. But it's now working with 425 agencies instead of 350 plus. So it's either the state has either made 10 of its ministerial departments just agencies it works with, or they've probably gone private sector, it's private or whatever, private contracts instead of actually state departments. But yeah, so there's that. Plus, I had to do a license check this week because as I'm a agency driver for a living. But I'm only on a van now, so I'm on less money than what I used to be on a 7.5 tonner. And a lot of my work has gone as well. But a couple of companies still use me. But as I had to do a license check, because I drive other people's vehicles, and the agency has to know that I'm legally able to drive their vehicles for insurance purposes and stuff like that. Yeah? So I did that. Yeah, I had to do that this week on Monday. But to do that, I'm required to actually go on the DVLA website to get a driver's license check and get a code and give that code to my agency so that they can actually check my details to make sure that I haven't got any points or whatever. Yeah, so for insurance purposes for other people's vehicles. And yeah, and if at what points I have, I've got a clean license, so I'm all right. But that wasn't a code. And yeah, so to do that, you do that, but then there's a horrible, sinister clause in the DVLA website which says, remember we're in data protection, everything's data protection, you've got to protect people's data, right? Yeah. But they have a sinister clause which excludes them and makes them immune from actually their own Data Protection Act, because it then says that basically, yeah. So you remember you're required to get you have to get this license check code for your company if you're an agency driver, which I had to do. And there's a box which says you agree that your data will your information will be shared for our purposes, whatever they are, and with whoever they are. Different agencies they work with or whoever. It could be anybody. Yeah. So you're basically, yeah, data protection law and cookies policy and all that rubbish, right? Yeah. But on the DVLA website, they can share your information with who the hell they like. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do because you have to tick the box to get the license code which you need to carry on working. And if you don't tick the box which says you agree to have your data shared, you cannot get your license check code to give to your agency, which means you cannot work, which means you would have to sign on Universal Credit. So you have to forcibly have your data shared against your wishes just to get a license check code for your agency. That is the sinister clause on the DVLA website. And it exists also on the phone. If you phone any department, any state department, there is a clause on there that says by continuing with the call, you agree to have your data shared for their purposes. And you cannot get around it, which means if you have to contact a state department, you have no choice because you would have to continue with the call for someone to pick the phone up, and by so doing, you have against your will, you have agreed for them to share your data, which you have not, because usually it's against your wishes that they do so. And it's a trap. It's a trap on the phone and it's a trap on the website. Not very nice. But then again, it shows their mindset and it shows you why Facebook is absolutely there's 2.3 billion people on Facebook, and the state website they have to keep telling you on via radio adverts and whatever, yeah, to go on the website because people don't want to be on it at all if they can help it. And that's but then again, living below universal credit, it's no fun and games. But like last week, if I get I've had 50 quid sub this week plus my 60, my plus 70, which is 150, and 60 is 110. If they sub me 20, which I will need today, if they do, I might just be able to get out, manage to get to Friday. But if they give me 20 today from work, because the universal credit, I've already used that allowance up, so I can't use that. That puts me on 150, sorry, 110, 130 quid, which puts me on £40 living below. I've lived this last week and got to work for 4 days on £40 underneath the universal credit limit, and had to provide my own accommodation costs and fuel costs and heating and everything for 130 quid, when they would pay 170 on universal credit if I lived in a room. Okay, so I live in a car because I'm not, by living in a car, as annoying as or unusual as it may seem, data's gone, so it should be the end of vlog. So thanks for listening. But by living in a car, you do not have that monthly cost. If you can't save money, and I can't save a fiver from one week to the next, many people can't. I'm in the same situation. That you haven't got to find 400, 500 pounds a month rent. So whatever the situation with living car life and it being financially difficult, it's not as difficult as trying to find £400 a month every month on the dot via a direct debit to your landlord. And it's that you haven't got that pressure, and it's that makes car life enjoyable. Thanks for watching. That's the vlog. Living life below universal credit limit. All fun and games.